Hey everybody, we're back here in Inside the Ropes and we are joined by the always ready Matt Cardona. Matt, I'm so jealous of that background that you've got with the figures and the belts. How you doing?
I'm good. This is the set to the Major Wrestler podcast, and during this weird time, it works great for Zoom calls like this, so it's perfect.
It does. Because I've got like wrestling figures, but nowhere near to what you've got. But beside my office, I always have a sturdy, non-working, old school
Oh,
Hasbro
very
Hogan.
cool.
But like, he's done.
Oh, yeah.
He's got nothing left in the tank.
Yeah.
But listen, so much has been going on with you this year. Obviously, with AEW, you debuted in July on Dynamite. What do you remember about that day debuting? Because obviously, you'd had to kind of stay quiet and had your no compete clause and all that, and then right out of the gate, big debut on Dynamite.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that's definitely where I wanted to go. Luckily, my friend Cody has a little bit of stroke in AEW, and he opened the door for me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even have to knock, which was great. Yeah, so I thank him for that opportunity, and it was fun. But I was definitely nervous that first week, being the new kid at school, so to speak. Meeting all these new friends, all these people in the locker room who I had watched over the years or knew about from social media, but didn't meet the majority of them. So it was definitely a little intimidating. But then once I got there, I loved the vibe, I loved the atmosphere, and everyone was very, very welcoming.
And I mean, when you debut as now Matt Cardona in AEW, I'm just curious, like in your mind, how much do you try to sort of bring in elements of Zack Ryder or be different from Zack Ryder? Like, what's your mindset kind of going into it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, listen, it's 2020, right? So with social media, everyone knows who I am, right? I'm Matt Cardona, right? I'm the kid who likes cats, likes wrestling figures, but when the time is right, can kick some ass in the ring. So I wasn't gonna just become like this new, like, mysterious, like, it wasn't gonna work. This mysterious, like, dark character, it wasn't gonna work, right? But the Zack Ryder stuff, it's done. The woo-woo stuff, it's done. It's time to change, and that's fine. I've been wanting to do that for a long time.
And I mean, in terms of AEW with your goals, what are the big goals? I know you've said publicly, this is where you want to be, but what are the goals kind of going forward for you in the company?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I've been there. I was there for about 2 months, got a bunch of T-shirts. That was cool, but I'm there for more than just T-shirts. I want to win championships. I'd love to have some great singles matches on pay-per-view, on Dynamite, wrestle guys I've never wrestled before. I just want to have fun again in wrestling, and AEW seems to be the perfect spot for that.
You're good friends with Cody. Obviously, we've seen you guys go to Disney and theme parks like a million times. You saved him on the first Dynamite you were there. But like, there's been a kind of a trend that most of Cody's friends in AEW kind of end up screwing him eventually. I mean, I don't know what that says, but is that something that you would kind of look to do? Because we're so used to seeing you as kind of one of the guys that you root for in a babyface.
Yeah, never say never. I would love to be the bad guy because I think, there's definitely that audience that doesn't want me in AEW, and that's fine. Listen, you're not going to please everybody. I'm not about proving doubters wrong. I want to prove my supporters right. That's what I'm always about. But if I had to flip the switch and be a bad guy, I'm telling you, you would hate me.
And I mean, in terms of, obviously with everything that happened with COVID and it led to the releases of you now being in AEW, do you feel that whole situation spiraling kind of made your decision for you? Because I know that you were kind of wondering what you were going to do. You were thinking about what you were going to do before any of this kind of took place.
It's crazy. Like, getting released was the best thing that ever could have happened to me. I've said it before. I was offered a new contract. I didn't sign it. I wasn't sure if I was going to sign it or not. I didn't know if I wanted to stay or go. So when the decision was made for me, it lifted this weight, this weight of anxiety off of my shoulders instantly. And now, like, I'm able to do whatever I want. The Major Wrestler podcast is really taking off. We just released like these action figures through Super 7. They're these awesome wrestling figures, some of the best wrestling figures of all time. We were in WWE. Couldn't get figures with Mattel, so we leave and make our own figures that are better than Mattel figures. So stuff like that, I really enjoy. I just enjoy the freedom, and WWE was great, and I am so, so grateful for the time I had there. Basically, my whole entire adult life was there, living my dream there, and I thank them for that, and I'm so grateful for that. But it was time to go. It was time to move on, and time to be me. And you know what? Like, I'm a big believer in just going for it and giving your all. And sometimes in WWE, you don't get that opportunity. Now, if I try and I fail, that's on me, but that's fine. At least I got the opportunity to try.
And I mean, I'm assuming that in AEW it's very collaborative and you've got a lot of influence in what you do there. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the Z True Long Island story because obviously it was so funny and so ahead of its time. And you're one of the first guys online to really be kind of going viral before anybody
Right.
else really did it. And I kind of wondered, when you were doing it, was there like a certain episode or a certain thing where you realized it was really taking off past just kind of being something that you put out on the internet?
Yes. So when I started it, I said this before, I wanted to either get noticed or get fired. I wanted to create buzz that would work for me in WWE or elsewhere, like TNA or something like that, right? Obviously, I wanted to keep my job. I wanted to stay there. But if I were to get fired over the things I was doing, at least I had the buzz. And I didn't want to be negative or bitter. And that's what the charm of the show was. So I was saying things like I wasn't getting pushed, but it was some meathead pushing me and me saying, nobody pushes Zack Ryder, stuff like that. Or me climbing a fence saying, I want to get over. So it was funny. But I believe it was like episode 7 around WrestleMania of that year, where someone went to the WrestleMania press conference and he asked John Cena, The Miz, who's the WWE champion, and Triple H, like, why I wasn't on TV. And he sent me all their responses.
Right.
And I just put them on my show because I thought it was so great that at the WrestleMania press conference, or the red carpet, wherever it was, that someone was asking about me, and the responses were great. I put it on the show, and I remember the next week, Stephanie McMahon came up to me. She said, "Oh, I saw your YouTube show this week," something like that. And I said, "Oh, thank you." And then she said, "I didn't say I liked it," and I was like, "Ooh." So I don't know if she was just joking with me. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, well, people know what it is.
For sure.
Right.
Well, I mean, because I've always been curious, because for me, it's like, and I think for a lot of fans, you were like this kind of sure thing, right? It was like, this guy's made himself so popular. Everybody wants to see him. It's just a no-brainer, right? Did you sense pushback when all that stuff was happening? Because obviously, like you say, you were around, but you weren't really being featured, or was it just a sense that you didn't hear it?
I mean, listen, we could have a whole hour conversation about pushback, things that happened, things that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, and I've said this before also, I could have went to Vince McMahon and said, like, hey, Vince, what's going on here? I'm one of the top selling merch sellers. I'm busting my ass here. The YouTube show's great. Like, what's going on here? And I didn't do that. Whether I was too young or too scared or too naive, whatever, I'm going to put the blame on me. I hate being bitter and looking back, and I hate people who blame people for holding them back. Mm-hmm. What's the point of that, right? Like, you're not going to be happier. So I take all responsibility for things that not working out the way I wish they would have.
There's one of the kind of fun moments that I remember, and I was just curious what you thought at the time. Was it Survivor Series 2011 when like The Rock was doing like his show closing speech? And the fans are chatting, "We want Ryder." Like, are you still at the building when that's happening? Like, how do you hear about it? Like, what was your reaction to, like, The Rock, who's like back and he's this big movie star, and they're still chatting for you?
That was a great night for so many reasons. One, it was like the culmination of the whole year. Starting the year as an absolute nobody, and it was like, to me, it was proven to WWE, hey, these people do care, because you hear all the time, if you can make it at MSG, you can make it anywhere. It was Madison Square Garden. So that's special. And plus, that's pretty much like my hometown, so it was extra special. And they were chanting my name before the show started, during the Ziggler-Morrison match when I did the run-in, and then afterwards when The Rock's talking, it was super cool. I mean, I wish I would have, like, ran out there when The Rock was talking about. What was I going to do, just walk out there? I guess I could have, but, like, I don't know. I don't live it with regrets. I mean, it would have been cool if I did that, but I don't think, like, Kevin Dunn would have been like, all right, let's hit Zack's music now.
I think you made
what
the
the hell's he doing? It would have been cool.
I think you made the right call not running out there unannounced.
Yeah, it was a special night for sure.
And the one other question about that year that I just wanted to ask, just from a personal standpoint, was there ever talk of Zack Ryder versus Kane? Because it always felt like that was maybe something that was going to happen. Like, or was that just never going to happen?
Well, see, like, this is when I'm saying, when I say I should have went to Vince and asked, like, this is a perfect example. Like, when I'm getting choke slammed off a loading dock, or choke slammed through the stage, or pushed off the stage in a wheelchair, I just assume I'm going to wrestle Kane and get my revenge at, like, Backlash or something, right? And then it just never happened. So, was I buried? Listen, if anyone buried anybody, I buried myself for not having the balls to go ask what was going on.
Well, I mean, you had a lot of good times in WWE as well. I want to bring up one of them.
Yeah, 100%.
Winning the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania in Dallas, in front of 100,000 fans. I mean, would you say that was the highlight of your career? Because, I mean, you could see the emotion in your moment getting to win that title, and, Scott Hall congratulating you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that was definitely the best night of my career, hands down, 100%. It was this storybook night. Wasn't supposed to be in the match, got in the match, ended up winning out of nowhere. Like you said, like I had posted pictures of me with Razor Ramon when I was a kid holding his Intercontinental title. And then afterwards, we took a picture of him holding mine. Like, no writer wrote this. This is real life. This is real storybook stuff. So that's what made it extra special. I think the fans could relate. And it had been years since the YouTube stuff, and I really appreciate the fans. Once they got an opportunity to believe in me, they were always back for me, which I always appreciated.
And then obviously with you and Brian doing the Major Wrestling Figure podcast together, getting to win the tag titles together, that's got to be a special moment for you guys. Like, after all the time you'd spent together, being edge heads together, like, that's got to be a special moment too.
Super cool because, when I won the Intercontinental title, that was my moment for sure. But when Brian won the tag team titles and I was there, I consider that Brian's moment, and I had the best seat in the house. Of course, I was involved in the moment, so super cool. I won the tag team titles, right? So awesome. I went in with the guy I broke into the business with. But that was his moment. That was for him, breaking the losing streak. And it's funny because, originally we were not scheduled to be in that match. And, talking about like learning and growing as not only a wrestler, but as a man, I learned that if you want things done in WWE, you got to go straight to Vince. No pitching to the writers. Like, listen, these guys are trying, but there's one guy saying yes or no. So if you want something done, if you want an answer, whether yes or no, you got to go to Vince. So we had this idea, and we pitched it to Vince maybe 2 weeks, maybe a week, 2 weeks before WrestleMania, that we would break Brian's losing streak in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, that we would be the final two guys, and I would almost like sacrifice myself, and he'd clothesline me over, he'd get the big win. Mm-hmm. And Vince's credit said, no, I got other plans for the Battle Royal. Very cool. He listened to us. And then all of a sudden, a couple days later, we hear, oh, you guys are wrestling Revival for the tag team titles. Like, what? So I got to believe it came from just being in Vince's mind because we went into his office,
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I'm telling myself. That's my story.
No, that's great. And it was a great moment. I was there live. People were eating up.
And I was on the ground. Obviously I know what's going to happen next. And I'm on the floor. Dash laid me out with something. I can hear the people, rumbling for Brian. They wanted him to win. And that was just so great, like anticipating that pop that was about to come. And it was so special. And I had the best seat in the house. I was better than front row. I was on the floor.
You were, yeah, you did, absolutely. Yeah. I want to ask you a couple of questions about the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. Sure. I'm a big wrestling figure geek myself, so I have to ask a couple of questions.
Hey, we're not geeks, bro. We're not geeks.
We're not geeks.
We're trying to kill that negative. No more 40-year-old virgin. I'm not a virgin. I'm not going to ask you if you're a virgin or not, but that's your personal information. But we're trying to kill that stigma. We're trying to kill that stigma of nerd and geek. It's cool. It's cool to collect whatever you want. I believe now with Comic-Cons, comic books are so popular with the Marvel movies and stuff like that. And, video games, and everyone's video game and everyone's Twitching and stuff like that. So now I think it's action figures' turn to really be, culturally accepted. And we're trying to do that.
And I mean, not a virgin, by the way, just in case people like I'm not having that let go. But anyway, but I am open to doing the 35-year-old virgin movie if it comes out. But
sure.
I wanted to ask you, when you started the podcast, though, were you surprised at how much it took off? Because it really did take off. It felt there was nobody else for those fans to go.
Yes. So it is a niche of a niche of a niche. You need to like wrestling podcasts, and like wrestling figures enough that you want to listen to a wrestling figure podcast. So it's a small audience, but they're rabid. They're devoted. They're passionate. They're diehards. Because if you're in, you're in. If you're listening to a wrestling figure podcast, you're in. So that audience is so rabid and diehard. And we didn't anticipate that we'd be bringing in old collectors, people, who might, they're fans of Brian and Matt, and they listen like, oh my God, I had that Hasbro Ultimate Warrior. And they start, eBaying it, and they pick it up. Oh, let me get the Repo Man. Let me get the Bushwhackers. Next thing you know, they have the whole set. And then we didn't think there'd be people who listen to us who never collected in their life and now just start with the Mattels. We only thought it was the people who were currently collecting. So we were pleasantly surprised to get new fans back and old fans back.
Yeah, for sure. We did a podcast on Monday with Sean Ross Sapp, and he was filling us in on what you said, that Jimmy Van paid you for a naked Miss Elizabeth. Well, I'll not get the number.
There's some controversy over that. I've stated that, it was a $45,000 purchase. He says that it was not, because there was other things in the line. It was a very expensive purchase.
Okay, cool.
But it's one of the, I don't buy things to sell. Do I buy things and end up selling them? Yes, I'm a toy businessman. Sometimes an opportunity comes up, and sometimes I do buy things to take certain pieces and sell the rest. But that naked Elizabeth, I did not want to sell, but he made me an offer I couldn't refuse, so I had to sell it.
There you go. I want to ask you, in doing the podcast, what is the best find or best sort of thing you've been able to pick up through doing the podcast and meeting people? Your favorite item you've picked up?
Yeah, I mean, through the podcast, we've been able to find and this is something I realized before the podcast as well, is that the rare stuff, the really rare stuff is maybe every once in a while it turns up on eBay, but it's in these like Facebook groups and these like underground message boards and private collectors. So I've been able to meet people who used to work in the toy industry, or someone, for instance, who worked for LJN. That's where I got, the Naked Elizabeth. I got some other figures from him, prototype stuff. So that's stuff that doesn't, it might come up on eBay every once in a while, but if the really hard to get stuff, everybody knows you do that under the table.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I remember, just a very quick story. I remember in 1997, I moved to a new place, and this guy at school was like into wrestling figures, and he said that he had a Hasbro Waylon Mercy, and I knew he was lying. I knew. So I was like, bring it into school, and he never would. So I eventually insisted on walking him home. So I was like, you're going to show me this figure. And obviously you never did. Was there ever a time when you were younger where somebody said they had something that you knew didn't exist and that they would just...
It's actually kind of like the opposite. There was this one kid in school, and this was 7th or 8th grade, and he told me that he had the Hasbro 1, 2, 3 kid, and I knew how rare it was. I'm like, BS, you don't have it, because I didn't have it. So if I didn't have it, nobody could have it, right? That's how naive I was. And then sure enough, I said something similar, bringing it to school, and then he did. Sure enough, he had it.
And he had it.
I was like, whoa. And I was so, so jealous. And one of the first things, if not the first thing I ever bought on eBay in 1998 was that 1, 2, 3 kid for $45. I still have that exact figure to this day in the package. And now it goes for $1,000.
I can't wait to see what other things you find, because if anybody can find them, it's you. But
I'm looking. I'm always looking. I'm always ready. I'm always looking.
But Matt, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm wishing you all the best in AEW. It's going to be fun to see where this ride takes you.
Thanks, man. I'm super excited. This pandemic has been crazy. Sometimes I think wow, it has been pretty bad. I lost my job. I had to cancel my wedding. But other than that, things have been great. I'm having the time of my life. The podcast is awesome. I'm having so much fun wrestling, so much fun being creative. I've had this stupid t-shirt design I can put up on Pro Wrestling Tees. I love the hustle, and I love working hard, and I love, being to succeed or fail on my own. So this time is awesome. And I can't wait to see what happens in AEW.